Picking a suitable selection of North Country fly patterns to see you through a whole season is a bit daunting. It is fraught with contradictions, antiquated fly names often confuse the newcomer, and the original entomology behind the patterns is so localised it often becomes redundant when transporting the patterns to other rivers. That said, there are a handful of patterns that I would happily fish on any freestone river, and these are: number 1, the water hen blower. Though primarily thought of as an early season pattern and a representation of the large dark olive, the water hen blower, however, if dressed in appropriate sizes, can in fact cover a variety of Baetis species. I tend to fish it as a middle or top dropper, but in reality it's just as effective anywhere on a free fly cast when olives are hatching. It is also great as a single fly cast upstream to rising fish. Number 2, the Greenwell's Glory. The Greenwell's Glory is probably the best all-season round imitation of the medium olive, and as hatches take place between April and October, it excels when fished as a top dropper through riffles and the heads and necks of pools. When I was a lad, I was told by an old Dales angler that the Greenwell was the only fly you needed on the Dales rivers. He wasn't wrong. Number 3, the Orange Partridge. The orange partridge is one of those utilitarian patterns which covers a wide range of bases. It can be fished equally effectively as an emerging caddis, stonefly, or even a sunk spinner. It simply just picks up fish wherever it is used. Personally, I like to dress a pattern with a fine gold rib and dress it in sizes 12 to size 18, and I always fish it as a point fly. Number 4, the light Spanish needle. Stoneflies and needleflies abound on the freestone rivers of the Yorkshire Dales, and it comes as no surprise that fly fishers of old developed a unique range of fly patterns to imitate them. Chief amongst these were the Spanish needles. Pritt's version of the light Spanish needle, with its simple body of crimson silk, snipe undercovert, and a peacock herl head, is my favourite, and it often surpasses every other fly during the latter part of the trout season and into the autumn grayling season. Number 5, Frederick Mould's Black Magic. This little modern North Country pattern is a perfect terrestrial imitation, and when dressed in large sizes is equally adept at imitating the hawthorn and even emerging black caddis. When I fish the fast riffles and runs, I tend to use it as a point fly. However, that being said, it is also great as a single fly cast upstream to rising fish in smooth glides. Number 6, the Snipe Blower. As the season progresses and the temperatures begin to rise in May and June, this great little fly comes into its own during hatches of blue-winged olives. I fish it on the middle dropper and even fish it upstream to rising fish, similar to fishing a dry fly. Number 7, the Greentail. There's not many North Country patterns clearly dedicated to the imitation of caddis, but the Greentail is a clear representation of the grammon, which hatches in the early couple of weeks of the trout season. Despite this, I have no hesitation in fishing it on the point as a general caddis imitation throughout the season. It is one of those utility patterns that should never be overlooked. Number 8, Edmonds and Lee's 8B March Brown. The beats of the River Wharfe where I fish are not renowned for the hatches of March Browns, but despite this, I do like to fish this pattern particularly as a point fly. Its size and delicate hackle turn it into one of those enticing patterns that just pick up fish when large insects are hatching. Number 9, the rough-bodied poult. One of the forgotten flies of Edmonds and Lee, the rough-bodied poult is a great fly to use on the point and middle dropper when olives are hatching in consistent numbers. The possum dubbing darkens slightly when wet, and the rare poult hackle gives it a ghost-like appearance. You can substitute this hackle for a very light snipe or starling undercovert if you can't obtain poult. I like to dress it slightly larger in a size 14 just to give the trout something to think about as it drifts over their noses. From late May until late August it has a permanent position on my fly cast. Number 10, the Yellow-Legged Blower. This pattern from Jackson's Practical Fly Fisher is a rather forgotten North Country fly and is seldom, if ever, fished today. Principally, it was a dry fly, but for the past 20 years or so, I've been fishing it as a wet. Similar in many ways to the orange partridge, it is an excellent searching pattern which suggests a range of natural insects. I fish it on the middle and top dropper throughout the season. Number 11, the Winter Brown. Though the name suggests it to be a late season pattern, I have nevertheless found the winter brown to be one of the finest stone and needlefly imitations around. I fish it throughout the season generally on the middle dropper, but switch it to the top dropper at the end of the season. Number 12. The smoke fly. Another forgotten North Country pattern. If there is one thing my book has achieved, it is that it's brought to light many of the hitherto forgotten and obscure North Country flies, and allowed them to be re-engaged by a generation of modern anglers. The smoke fly happily fits into this category and is probably my favourite North Country pattern. I fish it on the top dropper where it covers a range of terrestrial insects. The inclusion of a hooded crow hackle takes it to another level.